I never thought silence could feel so heavy. My house used to echo with laughter, my husband's deep chuckle, my son's silly jokes, and the sound of my bagels as I cooked for everyone. But now, there's a strange quietness that seeps through every corner. My son Arjun lives with me, and so does his wife, Mira, my daughter-in-law. When she first came into our home, I welcomed her with all my heart. She was young, shy, and respectful. I still remember the way she touched my feet, her eyes filled with hope and fear, like every new bride. I promised myself that I'd treat her like my own daughter. I thought we would share secrets, cook together, and laugh like friends, but life doesn't always turn out the way you imagined. In the beginning, things were good. Arjun worked long hours, and Mira often kept me company. We would sip tea together in the evenings, gossip about TV dramas, and talk about her dreams. She wanted to open her own boutique someday. Her designs were beautiful, simple, elegant, just like her heart. Then, little by little, something changed. She stopped joining me for tea. Her laughter faded. She avoided my eyes during meals. I tried to ask if something was wrong, but she always smiled politely and said, "No, Ma, I'm just tired." That smile, it wasn't real. I could feel it. At first, I thought maybe it was something I did. Maybe I'd said something wrong. I began replaying every word, every conversation in my mind, searching for the mistake. I even asked Arjun once, and he brushed it off, saying, "Ma, she's just adjusting. Don't worry so much." But how could I not worry? A mother knows when something is breaking in her home. Weeks turned into months. I noticed her staying up late, crying softly in her room. Once, I heard her whispering on the phone, her voice trembling. When I knocked, she quickly hung up and forced another one of those fake smiles. Something was deeply wrong. I prayed to God every night, whatever it is. Please keep our family together. But the silence grew louder. Arjun started coming home late too. They barely spoke to each other at dinner. Even the clinking of plates sounded tense. Then, one day, I found her sitting alone in the veranda, her eyes swollen from crying. She looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "Ma, do you believe that love can hide a secret?" Her voice was so soft it sent chills down my spine. I didn't know what to say. I nodded slowly, and she looked away, whispering, "Then maybe you'll understand me." One day, after that, she went inside and locked her room. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about her words. A secret. What kind of secret could she be talking about? Did it have something to do with my son? With their marriage? Or was it something much deeper? I felt helpless, like watching a storm from behind a window, unable to stop it. A few days later, something happened that broke me completely. I found a small box under the bed while cleaning Mira's room. Inside it was an old photograph, a picture of a little girl I had never seen before. And behind it, written in Mira's handwriting, were the words, "For the one I lost, but never stopped loving." I froze. My hands trembled. Who was this child? What did she mean, the one I lost? Before I could ask, I heard Mira behind me. Her face went pale. She snatched the box from my hands, tears already forming in her eyes. "Please, Ma, don't ask me anything." "Not yet," she whispered. "You'll hate me if you know the truth." But then she ran out of the room. And for the first time since she became my daughter-in-law, I felt a deep, piercing fear. Fear that whatever secret she was hiding could destroy everything. That night, after Mira ran out of the room, I sat on the edge of her bed, holding my trembling hands together. The photo of that little girl burned in my mind. Who was she? What had Mira lost? I could still feel the warmth of that secret box, as if it carried her pain inside it. I heard the front door close, and I knew she had left the house. My son, Arjun, wasn't home yet. For hours, I sat there staring at the curtains swaying in the wind, my heart heavy with confusion and fear. When Arjun finally came home, I asked Arjun Beta, "Did you know anything about Mira's past?" He looked at me blankly. "Past? What do you mean, Ma?" I hesitated. I didn't want to sound like I was accusing her. She had a photograph of a little girl hidden away. I accidentally found it while cleaning. When I asked, she got scared. She said she'd tell me someday. Arjun frowned. "A little girl? Maybe a cousin?" "You're overthinking again, Mo. She's been emotional lately." But I could tell from his tone, even he wasn't sure, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to think it was nothing serious. But that line kept echoing in my ears for the one I lost but never stopped loving. What kind of loss could leave that much pain in someone's eyes? The next morning, Mira didn't come out of her room. She skipped breakfast, and I could hear her sobbing softly. I stood outside the door, torn between giving her space and wrapping her in my arms. After a few minutes, I knocked gently, "Mira, Beta, please talk to me. I'm not angry. I just want to understand." There was silence, then a broken whisper. "Ma, I can't, please." "Not now." Her voice cracked mid-sentence, and I felt my own tears rise. I turned away, feeling helpless. Arjun grew restless too. "She doesn't even talk to me properly anymore," he said that evening, throwing his office bag on the sofa. "If she's got some problem, why doesn't she just tell me?" "Because maybe she's scared," I replied softly. "Scared of what?" He snapped. "We've never hurt her. We gave her everything." Asterisk, I looked at my son, the same boy I'd raised with so much love. I could see frustration in his eyes, but beneath that there was worry. I knew he still loved her deeply. A few days passed like that. The silence between them grew. I watched my home slowly lose its warmth. Even the walls felt colder than one afternoon. As I was folding clothes in the living room, Mira came and sat beside me. Her eyes were tired, her voice trembling. "Ma, may I ask you something?" I nodded. She hesitated, then said softly, "If someone made a mistake in the past, a mistake they've regretted every single day, would you still forgive them?" I looked at her, really looked. Her eyes were swollen, her hands clutching her sari like she was holding on to her last bit of courage. "Beta," I said gently, "it depends on the heart. Sometimes forgiveness is the only way two broken souls can survive." She burst into tears. "I don't deserve forgiveness, Ma, not from you." "Not from Arjun." I held her hands tightly. "What are you saying? Tell me what happened." She shook her head. "Not now. I just needed to know if you could forgive me." And before I could speak again, she left the room till my heart ached. I knew she was hiding something unbearable, but I also felt she wanted to tell me. She just didn't know how. That night, Arjun and I sat at the dinner table alone. He picked at his food silently, his face full of worry. "Did something happen between you two?" I asked. He sighed deeply. "She's been distant for weeks." I try to talk, but she shuts me out. "Ma, sometimes I feel like she's here physically, but her mind is somewhere else, somewhere painful." His words broke me even more. My son looked helpless, and I had no answers. "Maybe she needs time," I said softly. "She's hurting. We just don't know why." He nodded, but his eyes looked lost. 2 days later, I was watering the plants outside when a courier boy arrived. "Parcel for Mrs. Mira Arjun," he said. I signed for it and placed the brown envelope on the table. Mira came out soon after and froze when she saw it. Her face went pale. She snatched the envelope, her hands trembling, and ran to her room. Curiosity filled me, but I didn't follow. I respected her privacy, though every part of me wanted to understand what was happening. But a few minutes later, I heard a cry so painful that it made my heart stop. I ran inside. Mira was sitting on the floor, clutching a stack of papers, tears streaming down her face. She tried to hide them, but I grabbed her shoulders. Mira, what is it? Tell me. She looked up at me, eyes red, lips quivering. Ma, I can't hide it anymore. You deserve to know. She took a deep breath and whispered the words that shattered me. Before I married Arjun, I had a daughter. I felt the room spin. A daughter? She nodded slowly, tears falling on the papers. She was just 3 years old. Her name was Anaya. She was my world. And I lost her in an accident. I never told anyone, not even Arjun. My heart sank. Oh, Mira. She broke down completely. I thought if I started a new life, I could move on. But I can't, Ma. Every day, I see her face in my dreams. Every time I hear a child laugh, I feel her near me. I kept her photo because I couldn't let her go. But I didn't tell Arjun because I was afraid he'd see me as broken. I knelt beside her, tears flowing freely. I held her tight like a mother holding her child. You're not broken, Mira, I whispered. You're human, and no mother ever truly forgets her child. She sobbed in my arms. For the first time, I saw the real Mira, not the perfect wife, not the quiet daughter-in-law, but a mother who had been carrying unbearable grief alone. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I sat by the window, thinking about her words, a daughter she had lost, a pain she had hidden for years. And my son, unaware of it all, I knew what I had to do next, Dot, no matter what it took. I had to bring the truth to light, not to break my family further, but to heal it. I sat awake all night, my thoughts tangled between right and wrong. Mira's confession kept replaying in my mind like a haunting melody. A daughter. A loss. Years of silence. I finally understood why she had become so withdrawn, why her eyes always seemed to hold more pain than words could describe. But understanding her pain didn't make my heart any lighter, because now I carried a secret too. Should I tell Arjun? Or should I protect Mira and risk letting this secret eat her alive? By sunrise, I was still sitting by the window, lost in thought. The soft light of dawn painted everything golden, but inside me, it still felt gray. I heard footsteps, Arjun leaving for work. I called out, Veda, wait. He turned around, adjusting his tie, looking tired. Yes, Ma? I wanted to tell him. The words almost slipped out, but when I looked into his face, the same face that had once cried in my arms as a child, I froze. Dot. What if this truth shattered him? What if he thought Mira had betrayed him by hiding something so big? I forced a smile. Nothing, Beta. Just take care of her. She's not been herself lately. He sighed. I know. I'll try talking again tonight. When he left, I felt the weight of my silence press down on me like a mountain. That evening, I found Mira sitting in the garden, lost in thought. She was holding that same photograph, the little girl with the innocent smile. The setting sun made the tears in her eyes glisten. I sat beside her quietly. You miss her, don't you? She nodded, her voice barely a whisper. Every single day. Sometimes I still wake up thinking she's calling for me. And then I remember, she's gone. My heart broke for her. You don't have to hide that pain, Mira. You've been punishing yourself for too long. She looked at me, scared. Ma, what if Arjun finds out? What if he thinks I lied to him? I took her hand gently. He loves you. And love doesn't end when the truth comes out. It begins again, stronger, if it's real. She shook her head. No, Ma, you don't understand. He once told me he could never forgive dishonesty. He said he values truth above everything. If he finds out I kept such a big part of my life from him, her voice broke. He'll never look at me the same way. I didn't know how to comfort her. There were no words for a pain like that, but I also knew secrets have a way of finding their own voice. That night, during dinner, the tension in the air was unbearable. Arjun tried to talk casually, but Mira barely responded. I could see the guilt in her eyes, the weight of the truth pressing on her chest. Finally, Arjun put down his spoon and said, Enough. Mira, what's going on with you? You barely talk to me. You cry alone. You've stopped smiling. I don't even know who you are anymore. His tone wasn't angry. It was desperate. Mira's hand shook as she put down her glass. Arjun, please don't ask me that. He stood up frustrated. Then what am I supposed to do? Watch you destroy yourself in silence? I stepped in softly. Arjun bade us sit down, but before I could finish, Mira stood up, tears spilling down her cheeks. I had a daughter, Arjun. The words echoed through the house for a moment. There was complete silence, the kind that makes your heart stop beating. Arjun stared at her, stunned. What did you say? Mira's voice trembled. Before I met you, I was married once. It didn't last. My husband was cruel. But out of that darkness came my little girl, Anaya. She was my light. And then one night there was an accident. I lost her. Arjun's expression froze, pain, shock, disbelief all mixing together. You were married? He whispered. Mera nodded, sobbing. Yes, I didn't tell you because I was terrified. I thought if you knew, you wouldn't have wanted me. You're such a good man, Arjun. I didn't want my past to stain your future. I wanted to go to her to hold her, but I couldn't move. I watched my son's face, his eyes filled with confusion and heartbreak. Arjun took a step back, as if trying to process it all. You lied to me. You've been lying all this time? Mira cried harder. I wasn't lying, Arjun. I was surviving. I didn't want to lose you too. He ran his hand through his hair, pacing. You should have told me. We built our marriage on trust, Mira. How could you keep something so huge from me? His voice wasn't angry anymore. It was broken. Mira collapsed to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. Because every time I tried, I saw your love for me, and I was afraid that love would vanish. I couldn't watch anymore. I went to her side, held her trembling shoulders, and looked at my son. Arjun, she's suffered enough. You can't imagine what she's been through. He turned to me, his eyes glassy. Ma, you knew? My throat tightened. I found out just recently. She didn't mean to hide it. She just didn't know how to heal. Arjun sat down silent. For a long time, no one spoke. The only sound was Mira's quiet sobbing. Then, slowly, Arjun whispered, Anaya. That was her name? Mira nodded. Asterisk. He looked down, tears forming in his eyes. You must have loved her very much. Mira couldn't even speak. She just nodded again, clutching the photograph to her chest. After a long pause, Arjun reached out and gently touched her hand. I don't know how to process all this right now, but I do know one thing. I wish you had trusted me with your truth. Mira looked up, hope flickering through her tears. Can you ever forgive me? Arjun's voice cracked. I don't know yet, but I want to try. At that moment, I felt something change in the air. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the first fragile step toward it. Because when love is real, even truth that hurts can start the healing. That night, I stood at the window again, watching the two of them sit quietly together on the couch. Mira was crying softly, and Arjun was holding her hand. They didn't speak much, but they didn't need to. Sometimes silence, when filled with truth, feels lighter than silence filled with secrets. And for the first time in months, I whispered to myself, maybe this is the beginning of healing. The house felt different after that night, quieter, but not in the same painful way. The silence was softer now, like the air after a storm. For the first time in weeks, Mira didn't hide in her room. She came out in the morning, made tea for everyone, and quietly placed a cup before Arjun. He looked at her, just looked, and accepted it without a word. That small gesture meant more than any apology, but beneath that calm, I could still sense the tension, the delicate balance between love and hurt, truth and forgiveness. One wrong word could break it all again. Days passed slowly. Arjun went to work as usual, but his smiles were rare. At night, I would hear him turning in his bed, unable to sleep. Sometimes I caught him staring at Anaya's photograph on the mantel, the same photo Mira once kept hidden. Now it sat in the open, framed between two candles. One evening, I sat beside him. She was beautiful, wasn't she? I asked softly. He nodded, his eyes glistening. She looked just like Mira, same eyes, same smile. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he said, Ma, do you think I've been too harsh on her? I looked at my son, the man he'd become, still learning how to carry pain. Beta, pain makes us harsh sometimes. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means understanding. You're both wounded. Healing takes time. He sighed deeply. I love her, Ma. I just wish she'd trusted me enough to tell me before. She was scared, I said gently. Not of you, but of losing the happiness she finally found. He nodded slowly, his jaw tightening with emotion. I want to help her heal, but I don't even know where to begin. The next morning, Mira surprised me. She came to the kitchen early and started making halwa, Arjun's favorite. I smiled, planning to melt his anger with sweetness. She laughed softly. Maybe, or maybe I just want to see him smile again. There was something in her tone, a fragile hope returning to life. Later, when Arjun came home, she served the halwa quietly. He tasted it, looked at her, and said only one word, good. That one word carried forgiveness, love, and 1,000 unspoken apologies. I felt maybe, just maybe, we were finally finding our way back to peace. But life, as I had learned too many times before, always has one more test waiting. 3 weeks later, on a Sunday afternoon, the doorbell rang. I went to answer it, thinking it was another delivery boy. But instead, an old postman stood there with a registered letter in his hand. Mrs. Mira Arjun? He asked. Yes, I said, signing for it. I'll give it to her. When I handed the envelope to Mira, she froze. The color drained from her face. Who is it from? I asked gently. She swallowed hard. It's from someone I thought I'd never hear from again. Her hands shook as she tore open the envelope. I watched her eyes scan the page and then fill with tears. She whispered, It's from Rohan. Anaya's father? My heart skipped a beat. Rohan, the man who had once been her husband. The one she said was cruel. The one she had buried in her past. Mira sank into a chair, the letter trembling in her hands. I sat beside her. What does it say, Beta? She handed it to me wordlessly. The handwriting was uneven, almost desperate. Mira, I know I am the last person you ever wanted to hear from. I don't expect forgiveness, but I've lived with guilt every day since the accident. I need you to know the truth about that night. It wasn't your fault. It was mine. I was drunk. I shouldn't have been driving. Anaya wanted ice cream, and I promised I'd take her. I took the keys, and you begged me not to go. You cried, remember? But I didn't listen. I lost control. I crashed. You were right. I destroyed our family. I'm dying now. Liver failure, the doctors say. I don't have long. But I couldn't leave this world without saying this. You were a good mother. Mira, Anaya's death wasn't your sin. It was mine. If you can, forgive me. Rohan. Asterisk, I felt a lump in my throat. I looked at Mira, whose face was wet with tears. He admitted everything, I whispered. She nodded, sobbing. All these years, I thought it was my fault. That I wasn't careful enough. That I didn't protect her. I carried that guilt like poison inside me, Ma. I took her hand, squeezing it tightly. No, Beta. You've been punishing yourself for a crime you never committed. She cried harder, covering her face. I thought I didn't deserve happiness. That's why I couldn't tell Arjun. I didn't think I deserved a second chance. I wrapped my arms around her. You deserve love, Mira. You always did. The past doesn't define who you are. It only reminds you how strong you've become. That night, I told Arjun everything about the letter, about Rohan's confession, about Mira's pain finally being set free. He sat silently for a long time, staring at the letter. Then he said softly, all this time I thought she was hiding guilt. I never realized she was drowning in it. His voice broke. Ma, she didn't just lose a child. She lost herself. I nodded, tears filling my eyes. And now it's our turn to bring her back. He stood up slowly and went to their room. I stayed behind, praying. Through the half-open door, I heard his voice, low, trembling. Mira. She looked up startled. I read the letter, he said. You've carried this pain alone for too long. You don't have to anymore. He reached out and pulled her into his arms. I'm sorry. I should have seen your pain sooner. She sobbed against his chest. I thought you'd hate me. Never, he whispered. I only hate that you suffered in silence. I turned away, tears streaming down my cheeks. For the first time, I saw light returning to my son's home. Not bright and blinding, but gentle, healing. Like the first morning after a long night, over the next few days, something changed in Mira. She smiled more, talked freely, even started sketching again. I caught her humming softly while making tea, the same tune she used to hum when she first became part of our family. It wasn't just forgiveness. It was rebirth. But even as peace began to settle over our home, I knew the story wasn't finished yet, because 2 weeks later, another envelope arrived, not from Rohan, but from a lawyer in Delhi. This one was addressed to the family of late Anaya Rohan. Asterisk. Mira opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a single document, and as her eyes scanned it, her expression turned to shock. She looked up at me, whispering, Ma, Rohan had another child. The journey to Pune felt endless, though the highway stretched only a few 100 kilometers. Mira sat in the back seat, her hands clutched tightly over her lap, the photograph of little Anaya tucked into her purse. The image wasn't just a memory anymore. It was a reminder of what she had survived and what she was about to face. Arjun drove quietly, his jaw set, his hand occasionally brushing hers in reassurance. I sat in the passenger seat, silently praying, not just for Mira, but for the child she had never met, a son who had grown up without knowing his mother, yet who was about to learn that he had a family that had never stopped searching for him. We arrived at the small town in the late afternoon. The sun was beginning its descent, painting the streets in golden hues. The orphanage was a modest building tucked behind a narrow lane. Children's laughter echoed faintly as we approached, and my chest tightened. Mira's eyes were wide with anticipation, fear, and hope all at once. The director, a kind woman with a warm smile, greeted us. You must be Mira? I've heard about you. Aaron has been waiting for someone like you. Mira's hands trembled. Waiting for me, she whispered. The director nodded. He's curious, anxious, and excited. He doesn't understand everything, but he feels something is about to change in his life. We followed her inside. The orphanage smelled faintly of soap and children's snacks, a comforting, familiar smell that made the tension in the room almost tangible. Then we saw him. Aaron was sitting on a small chair, sketching in a notebook. He looked up briefly as we entered, his dark eyes cautious but bright. His small hands gripped the pencil tightly, as if it were a shield. Mira froze. Her lips trembled. Her tears formed, silently falling down her cheeks. Arjun, she whispered. I placed my hand gently on her back. Go to him, Beta. He's waiting for you. She took a tentative step forward. Aaron's gaze flickered between her and the director. His expression was a mixture of curiosity and caution. Then, slowly, Mira knelt before him. Aaron, my son, she whispered, her voice breaking. Aaron's eyes widened. He had never heard those words before, not from anyone. He didn't fully understand what they meant, but he sensed the warmth in her voice, the trembling hope that accompanied it. I'm your mother, Mira continued, tears streaming down her face. I've missed you every single day. For a moment, Aaron just stared. His small frame seemed unsure whether to trust this woman who had appeared suddenly in his life. Then he did, something unexpected. He leaned forward and placed his tiny hands in hers. Are you really my mom? He asked softly. Yes, Beta, Mira whispered, choking on her own tears. I am your mom. I've always loved you. I've always been looking for you. Arjun stepped forward, crouching beside them. And I'm your uncle, he said gently, smiling. We're your family now, Aaron, all of us. Aaron's eyes flicked between the three of us, his mother, the man he would soon call father figure, and me, the grandmother he had never met. Slowly, a smile broke across his face. That night, back at the guest house we had booked nearby, Mira sat beside Aaron on the bed. She showed him photographs of Anaya, speaking softly about the sister he had never met, explaining the family he had been a part of all along. Aaron listened intently, sometimes asking questions, sometimes just holding her hand silently. I watched from a distance, feeling my heart swell. You're so strong, Ma, Mira said softly to me later. I never thought I could survive losing one child, let alone face another challenge like this. I hugged her tightly. Beta, strength isn't about surviving alone. It's about letting love guide you through the pain. You've done that, and now you have a chance to make it right. The following day, we began the paperwork to bring Aaron officially into our lives. The orphanage director explained the legal processes, the formalities, and the steps needed. Every time Aaron looked up at Mira, his small eyes sparkled with growing trust. Arjun and I exchanged glances. The journey had been hard, but the most difficult part was over. The bridge between past pain and future hope was being built, one small, careful step at a time. That evening, as we all sat together in the courtyard of the guest house, Aaron finally spoke freely. Mom, will you read me a story? He asked. Mira's hands shook, but she nodded, picking up a small storybook from the table. She began reading, her voice soft, melodic, filled with love and reassurance. Aaron curled up beside her, his head resting against her shoulder. For the first time in years, Mira's laughter returned, a quiet, fragile sound, but one that filled the room with warmth. Arjun smiled, watching them. This is just the beginning, he whispered to me. Yes, I said softly, tears in my eyes. The beginning of healing, hope, and love. Finally, a family is whole again. But even as the warmth settled over us, I sensed another challenge waiting just beyond the horizon, one that would test the family's newfound bond. The days following Aaron's arrival were filled with joy, laughter, and cautious hope. Mira's smile returned slowly, stitched together with love and new beginnings. Aaron's laughter echoed through the house like a long-lost melody, warming every corner. Even Arjun began to relax, the heaviness of the past easing with each passing day. But life, as I have always known, never allows peace to linger for long. It began with a phone call one morning. I was in the kitchen preparing tea when the phone rang. Mira, still half asleep, groaned and reached for it. Yes, she said, her voice sleepy. Then her eyes widened and the cup nearly slipped from her hands. I froze. Something in her expression, terror, disbelief, and shock, froze me to the spot. It's from Rohan's lawyer, she whispered, her voice trembling. They want to meet me. They said, it's urgent. Something about Anaya and Aaron. My heart skipped a beat. Beta, calm down. Tell me exactly what he said. She shook her head, tears brimming. I don't understand, Ma. They mentioned legal matters. Something about custody disputes, inheritance, and Rohan's family. They're asking for a meeting immediately. I felt a cold knot of fear in my stomach. Just when we thought the storm had passed, it had returned. Arjun entered the kitchen, having overheard the conversation. What's going on? He asked, worry lining his features. Mira handed him the letter. It's Rohan's family. They're alive, and they want to see me. About the children. Arjun's face hardened. Rohan's family? He repeated. Why now? Why after all these years? I don't know, Mira whispered. But they want to speak. And they want Aaron too. They claim he belongs to their family as well. The room fell silent. The weight of the situation pressed down on us. This was uncharted territory, an entirely new storm. We decided to meet Rohan's family the next day. I accompanied Mira and Arjun, my heart heavy with worry and a determination to protect the fragile peace. We had built Dot. We arrived at a large house on the outskirts of the city. The gates opened to reveal an imposing home, and as we entered the grand hall, 3 figures appeared, a woman and 2 men, their expressions serious, yet not unkind. Mira, the woman said softly, her eyes sharp but sorrowful. I am Ria, Rohan's sister. We never knew the full story, and we are here now to ensure that what's right for Aaron is done. One of the men, tall and serious, added, We've learned about your struggles. Mira, about the loss of Anaya and your pain. We don't want to fight. We only want to find a fair resolution for Aaron. The third, younger man, glanced at Aaron and then at Mira. He's young, but he deserves to know all sides of his family. That is why we requested this meeting. Mira clutched my hand tightly. Ma, what do we do? I can't let him be taken away from us. I looked into her eyes and spoke softly. Beta, this is not about fear. It's about truth, love, and patience. We have fought so hard to bring him here. Now we must face them with courage, honesty, and your heart open. Aaron will know love, no matter what. The conversation that followed was tense. Legal matters intertwined with emotions, and every word Mira spoke carried the weight of years of guilt and grief. She told them about the accident, about Rohan's mistakes, about her attempts to find Aaron, and about the family that had welcomed him into love. Arjun spoke carefully, supporting her, but also standing firm. Aaron is our family now, he said. We love him, and he knows that. You cannot undo what he has already found: love, stability, and a home. Ria's eyes softened. We understand your point, Arjun, but legally, we must ensure Aaron's well-being, and we have certain rights as his extended family. However, after hearing your story, it is clear that he is safe and loved here. The tension in the room slowly melted. The past had returned to test us, but love and truth held firm. When we returned home that evening, Mira was exhausted. Aaron ran to her, hugging her tightly. Mom, I'm glad we're together, he whispered. She held him close. Beta, we will always be together. Nothing will separate us now. Arjun placed a hand on my shoulder. Ma, it's been a test, but we survived it together. Our family is stronger because of it. I nodded, tears falling freely. Yes, Beta, stronger. And full of hope. That night, as I watched Mira tuck Aaron into bed, I realized something profound. Pain, secrets, and loss might enter our lives, but love, true love, always finds a way to heal. And as long as hearts remain open, even the deepest wounds can grow new life. But even in the calm, a whisper of unease lingered. There were still unanswered questions. What about Rohan's other child? Could Aaron ever fully understand his past? And would the shadows of the past truly stay behind? Or were there more revelations waiting for us? The storm had passed, but the clouds were not gone. The days after the meeting with Rohan's family felt like a soft rain, cleansing, gentle, and full of quiet hope. Mira, Arjun, and I returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. The past was still there, lingering in the corners of our hearts, but it no longer controlled our lives. Aaron ran freely through the house, laughing and playing, and for the first time in years, Mira's laughter joined his. I watched them from the kitchen window, tears of relief streaming down my face. One morning, I found Mira in the garden, sitting quietly with a small notebook. She was writing something, her brow furrowed in concentration. I approached her, curious. "What are you writing, Beta?" I asked softly. She looked up, smiling through her tears. Letters. Letters to Anaya, to Aaron, to anyone who needs to know that they are loved. Even if they are not here, even if they can't hear me, I want them to feel it. I sat beside her, placing a hand on hers. "That's beautiful, Beta. Your heart is healing, and you are letting love flow through it. That is how we mend what was broken." Her voice trembled. "Ma, I never realized how much pain I carried, not just for losing Anaya, but for everything I thought I failed at. But now I see that love was always stronger than my fears." That night, as I watched Mira tuck Aaron into bed, I realized something profound. Pain, secrets, and loss might enter our lives, but love, true love, always finds a way to heal. And as long as hearts remain open, even the deepest wounds can grow new life. But even in the calm, a whisper of unease lingered. There were still unanswered questions. What about Rohan's other child? Could Aaron ever fully understand his past? And would the shadows of the past truly stay behind? Or were there more revelations waiting for us? The storm had passed, but the clouds were not gone. The days after the meeting with Rohan's family felt like a soft rain, cleansing, gentle, and full of quiet hope. Mira, Arjun, and I returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. The past was still there, lingering in the corners of our hearts, but it no longer controlled our lives. Aaron ran freely through the house, laughing and playing, and for the first time in years, Mira's laughter joined his. I watched them from the kitchen window, tears of relief streaming down my face. One morning, I found Mira in the garden, sitting quietly with a small notebook. She was writing something, her brow furrowed in concentration. I approached her, curious. "What are you writing, Beta?" I asked softly. She looked up, smiling through her tears. Letters. Letters to Anaya, to Aaron, to anyone who needs to know that they are loved. Even if they are not here, even if they can't hear me, I want them to feel it. I sat beside her, placing a hand on hers. "That's beautiful, Beta. Your heart is healing, and you are letting love flow through it. That is how we mend what was broken." Her voice trembled. "Ma, I never realized how much pain I carried, not just for losing Anaya, but for everything I thought I failed at. But now I see that love was always stronger than my fears." I hugged her tightly. "Exactly, son. Pain teaches us lessons, but love gives us strength to rise again." Arjun joined us with breakfast, carrying Aaron on his hip. "I hear there's writing going on," he asked, smiling. "Yes," Mira said. "I'm trying to put all the love I couldn't give into words, and also show Aaron that he is part of something bigger than his pain." Arjun placed Aaron down gently. "And he is. He has a family that will never leave him, a mother who fought through every storm, and a father figure who will always be there. He's blessed." Aaron ran to the garden, calling out, "Mom, come play with me." Mira laughed, tears forming again. All right, Beta, let's go. I watched them play, feeling the warmth in my chest. The house that had once been filled with shadows was now alive with laughter and hope. A few days later, Mira received an unexpected visitor, a teacher from Aaron's school, sent to check on his transition. He's adjusting remarkably well, the teacher said, but there's something I want you to know. Aaron has a gift. He draws emotions like no other child I've seen. His sketches tell stories of love, loss, and hope. And he often draws a woman whom he calls Mom. Mira's eyes filled with tears. That's my Aaron, she whispered. Even before he knew me, he somehow felt my presence in his heart. Arjun squeezed her hand. See, Beta, you were always connected. Now he knows you for real. I nodded, smiling. Love finds a way, even through distance, pain, and time. That evening, we sat together as a family, Aaron sketching, Mira writing letters, Arjun reading, and I prepared tea. It felt like a simple day, but it was extraordinary. Each small moment was a thread weaving together the fabric of a family that had been torn apart and now slowly restored. Mera leaned against Arjun, whispering softly, Ma, thank you for never giving up on me, for guiding me through my fears and my guilt. I kissed her forehead gently. Beta, you never had to face it alone. Love is stronger than any secret, any past, any sorrow. And you finally let it shine through. Arjun looked at her with tenderness. We still have a long journey, Mira, but we're together. And together, we will face whatever comes next. Later that night, as I sat by the window, I reflected on the journey we had traveled. The storms we had weathered, grief, secrets, fear, and doubt, had tested our hearts and our souls. But through it all, the light of love had guided us. I whispered to myself, family is not just blood. It is the courage to forgive, the strength to love, and the willingness to face the past with an open heart. And now, we're finally learning to live fully again. And as I watched the house settle into quiet, I knew that this healing was just the beginning, because even when life's storms return, hope, love, and family will always stand strong. And the heart that chooses to forgive and embrace will never be broken. The day of Aaron's first birthday with us arrived like a gentle sunrise, bringing light and warmth to a home that had seen too much darkness. The morning was filled with laughter, anticipation, and nervous excitement. Mira woke early, dressed in a soft sky blue sari, her hair braided delicately. She looked radiant, not because of makeup or adornments, but because of the joy radiating from her heart. I watched her quietly from the kitchen, preparing breakfast, and felt a swell of pride and relief. She had survived storms that could have broken anyone. She had faced grief that would have crushed lesser souls. And yet, here she was, smiling, hopeful, and ready to celebrate a moment of pure joy with the child she had fought so hard to embrace. Arjun entered the kitchen, carrying Aaron in his arms. The little boy was dressed in a tiny kurta pajama, his dark eyes bright and curious, and a playful grin spreading across his face. Look at him, Ma, Arjun said softly, placing Aaron on the table. He's our little miracle. I nodded, tears forming at the corners of my eyes. Yes, Beta, a miracle, indeed, and a reminder that love always finds its way. The house had been decorated carefully the night before. Colorful balloons, garlands of marigold and jasmine, and a soft string of fairy lights transformed our living room into a little wonderland. The aroma of homemade sweets, fresh flowers, and a warm chai simmering on the stove filled the air. Every corner seemed to hum with life, energy, and love, a stark contrast to the silence that had once filled these walls. Mira moved through the decorations, adjusting a few ribbons, laughing softly as Aaron toddled behind her, curious about everything. He reached for a balloon, tugging at it excitedly. Mom, he called, his small voice full of glee. Mira bent down and held him close, laughing as she kissed his forehead. Yes, Beta, this is your special day. Your very first birthday with your family. Arjun watched them quietly, a soft smile on his lips. She's incredible, he whispered to me, nodding toward Mira. Look at her. She's come so far, Ma, from hiding pain to getting love so freely. It's amazing. I smiled, though my eyes filled with tears. Yes, Beta. She's found herself again, and in doing so has created a family that can weather anything. Friends and neighbors arrived mid-morning, bringing gifts, smiles, and warm wishes. The atmosphere was lively, full of laughter and chatter. Aaron's eyes widened at the sight of so many people, but he soon warmed to the attention. Giggling as they lifted him gently, complimented his outfit, and called him the handsomest little boy. I watched Mira closely, noticing her careful balance between excitement and protection. She didn't want Aaron to feel overwhelmed, yet she wanted him to experience the joy that he so richly deserved. Every smile she gave him, every word of encouragement, was a testament to the resilience of her heart. Arjun helped distribute gifts, occasionally catching Mira's eye. Each glance carried unspoken words. We've made it. Together we've made it. When it was time for the cake, Mira brought out a small round cake adorned with colorful icing and a single candle shaped like the number 1. She placed it carefully on the table and called Aaron over. Happy birthday, Beta, she whispered softly, her hand brushing his cheek. Aaron blinked at the candle, then grinned. Blow, Mom, blow. Arjun knelt beside him, guiding his little hands toward the flame. Together, they blew it out. The room erupted in cheers, laughter, and applause. I watched Mira's expression, her eyes glistening, as tears rolled down her cheeks. This is the first happy birthday I've ever been able to celebrate with my child, she whispered to me later when we stepped aside for a moment. I thought I'd never get this chance, Ma. I didn't think I'd be capable of such joy again. I hugged her tightly. Beta, you've fought for this moment for years. And now it's here. Your love, your courage has made it real. After the cake, we moved to the garden for a small, playful celebration. Aaron ran freely, chasing butterflies and giggling as Arjun and Mira took turns lifting him into the air. I stood back, watching them, feeling my heart fill with an unexplainable warmth. At one point, Aaron suddenly stopped and ran toward me, holding out a small hand. Dottie, he exclaimed, his voice full of pure delight. I knelt, and he threw his tiny arms around my neck. I love you, Beta, I whispered. I love you, Daddy. He said back, his little words carrying the weight of pure innocence. Mira watched this exchange, her hand pressed to her chest. He's everything I never knew I could have, she said softly, tears shining in her eyes. He makes everything worth it, Ma. Every heartbreak, every sleepless night, every fear. It was all worth him. Arjun came over and stood beside us, placing a hand on her shoulder. Yes, Beta. And now we have the chance to make every day brighter together. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold, the family gathered for one final moment. Mira held Aaron close, Arjun at her side, and I stood beside them, feeling the bond we had all fought so hard to create. Look at us, Mira whispered, her voice trembling. We're a family, whole, strong together. Arjun smiled, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. Yes, Beta. And nothing, no past, no fear, no secret, can ever take that away from us now. I watched them, tears flowing freely, and realized that this day was more than a birthday. It was a celebration of survival, of courage, of love that had endured pain and loss. It was a testament to the power of forgiveness, patience, and hope. Later that night, after Aaron had fallen asleep, Mira and I sat together in the quiet living room. She rested her head on my shoulder, exhausted but peaceful. Ma, she whispered softly, I never thought I could feel this happy again. After everything, after losing Anaya, after hiding my pain, I feel whole. And it's because of you, because of Arjun, because of us. I stroked her hair gently. Beta, this is what love does. It mends broken hearts, heals wounds that seem too deep to ever close, and reminds us that family, true family, is forever. Arjun joined us, sitting close and holding our hands together. We've come so far, he said softly, and there's still a lifetime ahead. But whatever comes, we face it together. We sat in silence, hearts connected, knowing that life had tested us in unimaginable ways, yet here we were, stronger, united, and filled with hope. Outside, the stars shone brightly, casting a gentle glow over the house. And inside, the soft hum of family laughter and love promised that even after the darkest nights, light always returns. The morning after Aaron's first birthday dawned bright and calm, the golden sunlight spilling across the house like a promise. For once, I felt a rare moment of peace, seeing Mira, Arjun, and Aaron laughing in the kitchen as they shared leftover cake and stories from the day before. The sound of their joy filled the home, chasing away the lingering shadows of the past. But peace, I had learned over the years, is always fragile. The letter arrived at the door in late morning. A simple, plain envelope, sealed in crisp parchment, addressed to Mira in handwriting I did not recognize. My stomach twisted at the sight of it, some part of me already sensing the storm that might come. Mira picked it up cautiously. Her fingers trembled, and I saw a flash of fear cross her eyes. Ma, it's from, I don't know. It doesn't say a name. Just read carefully. I placed a reassuring hand on hers. Beta, whatever it is, we'll face it together. Just breathe. She opened it slowly, the paper trembling as she read the first lines. Her eyes widened and she swallowed hard. Arjun, noticing her silence, stepped closer. What is it? He asked, his voice gentle but wary. Mira looked up at him, tears brimming. It's from someone connected to Rohan. I think it's about Aaron, and it's about Anaya too. I felt a chill run down my spine. We had finally begun to heal, to rebuild the fragile bonds of our family. But now, the past had come knocking once again. Mira began reading aloud, her voice shaking but determined. Mira, I hope this letter finds you safe. I know the pain you've endured, the sacrifices you've made, and the love you've carried for Aaron and Anaya. You do not know me, but I knew Rohan. Long before you came into his life, there are truths you have never been told, secrets that were buried with pain, lies, and fear. I write because you need to know. Rohan had a sister, Mira, who tried to protect Aaron from the family she feared would claim him for their own gain. But there are other people, distant relatives, who believe they have rights and will try to take him from you if you are not careful. You have fought for him, loved him, and healed your family. But there are choices you must make quickly and wisely. Trust your heart, trust your instincts, and never let fear guide you. One truth remains above all. Love will protect your family if you stay united. Do not let the shadows of the past undo what you have built. Asterisk Mira's hands shook violently as she finished reading. Ma, this is more than just a letter. Someone from Rohan's past. They are warning me, or testing me. I don't know which. I took a deep breath. Beta, it's both. Life has a way of testing us when we're strongest. You faced the worst already, and now you have to trust yourself, trust Arjun, and protect your family. That is the only way forward. Arjun's voice was calm but firm. Mira, we've built this home together. We face Rohan's family, his past, and all the pain he left behind. This letter is just another challenge. We will face it together. Mira's eyes glistened with tears. I never expected the past to keep coming back. I thought I could finally let go, start fresh. And now this. I stroked her hair gently. Beta, you are stronger than you think. You've survived grief, loss, and betrayal. You've embraced Aaron, left him, and built a family that no one can destroy. This is just another test, and you will pass it as you always have. The rest of the day passed in a tense, anxious haze. Mira kept rereading the letter, trying to decipher the hidden meaning. Arjun remained by her side, offering quiet reassurance. I spent hours observing them, silently guiding them with the wisdom of experience, knowing that their courage and love would see them through. That evening, we decided to contact the lawyer who had helped us with Aaron's legal custody. He agreed to meet us immediately, sensing the urgency in our voices dot at the lawyer's office. We learned more about the distant relatives mentioned in the letter. They were Rohan's extended family from another city, wealthy, influential, and with legal claims that could potentially challenge Aaron's guardianship. But the lawyer also assured us they can attempt to challenge, but your case is strong. Mira's history, her love for Aaron, and the life she has built with him and Arjun. All of this favors the child's best interest. The law recognizes that. Mira listened intently, her fingers intertwined with Arjun's. Ma, she whispered when we left the office, I am terrified. What if they try to take him? What if he's taken from me? I took her hands firmly in mine. Beta, fear cannot guide you. Love must. If you remain united, if Arjun and you stand together, no one can break your family. Remember, you have fought for this. You have survived storms worse than this. You are not alone. That night, after Aaron had fallen asleep, Mira sat quietly by the window. The moonlight spilled over her face, illuminating a fragile strength I had never seen before. Ma, she whispered, voice trembling, I want to protect him, but I don't want to become like Rohan, fearful, secretive, or controlling. I just want to love him freely, without shadows haunting us. I held her hands tightly. Beta, that is the difference between you and Rohan. You love with your heart open. You face life with courage, honesty, and hope. You will guide Aaron with light, not fear. Shadows may appear, but they cannot linger where love shines. Arjun joined us, wrapping his arms around both of us. We'll face whatever comes, together, always. Mira leaned her head against his chest, tears falling freely. Together, she whispered Dot the next morning. A gentle breeze floated through the house, carrying with it a sense of renewal. The letter, the warning, and the shadow of Rohan's past had arrived to test us once again. But for the first time, Mira's eyes sparkled not with fear, but with determination. She gathered Aaron in her arms. Beta, she said softly, no matter what comes, we will face it together. You are my son, my heart, my hope, and I will protect you with everything I am. Arjun knelt beside them, pressing a gentle kiss to Mira's forehead. And we will protect this family together. No one can take this away from us. Not the past, not fear, not anyone. I watched, my heart full, as the family I had prayed for years, broken, torn, and battered, now stood stronger than ever. Love had survived pain. Hope had survived grief. And together we were ready for whatever storm might come next outside. The moon shone brightly over the house, a silent guardian over a family reborn. And inside, hearts beat with courage, trust, and an unshakable bond. The morning air was crisp and golden, sunlight streaming gently through the windows, illuminating a house that had seen storms, heartbreak, and secrets, but now shone with warmth, love, and hope. Aaron's laughter echoed through the rooms as he played with blocks, his tiny fingers building towers with determination and joy. For the first time in years, the sound of a child's happiness filled the house without shadows lurking behind it. Mer moved among the rooms. Her eyes soft, her movements unhurried. She paused to look at Aaron, kneeling beside him, her hands brushing his hair from his forehead. Beta, you're my sunshine, she whispered, her voice trembling but full of love. And today, we celebrate not just your life, but ours. Our family, our second chance. Arjun leaned against the doorway, watching them with a gentle smile. We've come so far, Mira, he said softly. Through every secret, every challenge, we've held on to each other. And now, look at us. I watched them too, my heart swelling with pride, relief, and gratitude. We had survived Rohan's secrets, the pain of loss, the fear of losing Aaron, and even the shadows of relatives we had never known. And now, together, we were whole. The day was filled with small celebrations, breakfast with colorful pancakes shaped like stars, Aaron giggling as he tried to feed himself, and Mira gently wiping icing from his cheeks. The air smelled faintly of flowers and tea, mingling with the soft laughter of our little family. Each moment felt delicate, precious, and irreplaceable. After breakfast, Mira brought out a scrapbook she had been making for Aaron. She flipped the pages, showing him pictures of the family he had just met, of me, his grandmother, and Arjun, who had been like a father figure from the very beginning. She also included drawings he had made in the orphanage, letters she had written him while searching, and photographs of Anaya, his late sister, whose memory we honored with gentle words and love. Aaron's eyes sparkled as he turned each page. Mom, this is beautiful, he exclaimed, hugging the scrapbook to his chest. Yes, Beta, Mira said, tears streaming down her cheeks. It's your story, our story. A story of love, hope, and family. A story that no one can ever take from us. Later that afternoon, we stepped into the garden for a quiet moment, away from the flurry of celebrations. Aaron ran ahead, chasing butterflies, his laughter mingling with the soft rustle of the leaves. Mira and Arjun followed, hand in hand, while I walked behind, savoring the simple, yet profound beauty of the scene. Mira stopped, taking a deep breath of the fresh air. Ma, she said softly, her eyes glistening, I never thought I could feel this. Happy, after everything, losing Anaya, all the secrets, the fear. I feel free. I feel like I can finally breathe. I held her hand, feeling her trembling slightly from the intensity of emotion. Beta, freedom comes from love, forgiveness, and courage. You have all three in abundance. And that is why you're standing here today, with a family reborn, a son who loves you, and a heart unbroken. Arjun placed his arm around her shoulders. We've been tested, Mira, by life, by secrets, by grief. But we endured, and now we get to build our future, not on fear or shadows, but on love, trust, and hope. As evening fell, the soft golden glow of the sunset enveloped the house. Aaron lay nestled between Mira and Arjun, his small hand clutching Mira's fingers as he drifted off to sleep. The serenity in the room was almost unreal, a stark contrast to the chaos and heartbreak of the past years. I poured myself a cup of tea and settled beside them, watching the family I had longed for all these years, a family that had survived the deepest pain, faced secrets that could have destroyed them, and emerged stronger, bound by love that could not be broken. Mira stirred, her hand brushing against mine. Ma, she whispered softly, thank you for guiding me, for standing by me, for never letting me lose hope. I feel like finally I am home. I smiled, pressing a gentle kiss to her hand. Beta, you were never lost. You just needed to believe in love, in yourself, in Arjun, and Aaron, and in the family we have built together. And now, look at you, whole, strong, and filled with hope. Arjun leaned closer, his eyes soft. We faced everything, Mira, Rohan's past, secrets, grief. And yet, here we are. Stronger, united, and ready for whatever comes next. Nothing can break us because we choose love. The night settled over the house with a comforting calm. Outside, the stars twinkled like tiny lanterns guiding the path forward, and the moon cast a gentle silver light over the garden. Inside, the warmth of family radiated, filling every corner, every heart, and every soul. Mira finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Ma, I feel like I can finally forgive the past, honor Anaya, and embrace the future with Aaron. I am finally free to love without fear. I nodded, tears slipping down my cheeks. Beta, that is the essence of life, to love, forgive, and rebuild. You've done all of that and more. And now, your family, your son, will thrive in the love you give. Arjun kissed Mira's forehead gently. We've survived the storms, and now the sun will always shine for us. Aaron stirred in his sleep, murmuring softly, Mom? Dad? Daddy? Mira smiled, brushing his hair from his face. Yes, Beta, always. I watched the three of them together, feeling my heart swell with gratitude, relief, and joy. The past had tested us in unimaginable ways, but love had endured. Pain had been transformed into resilience, grief into hope, secrets into understanding, and fear into courage. Our family, once broken by tragedy and secrecy, had been reborn, stronger, kinder, more united, filled with laughter, warmth, and unwavering love. And as I looked around the house at Aaron sleeping peacefully, Mira's radiant face, and Arjun's steady presence, I knew one truth. More powerful than anything we had faced, love survives. Hope endures. Family conquers all doubt. The storms of the past were behind us. The light of tomorrow was ours to embrace. And together we would face life with open hearts, boundless courage, and the certainty that no darkness could ever overshadow the love we had built.